Hey guys, this is Danny. A couple of weeks ago, someone asked me to explain how to send multiple outs through bus effects. And obviously, once you have them going through multiple outs, you can use more than just bus effects. You can use other effects in AUM. But the reason I actually do this and send 8 stems out every week is because I like to use the performance effects. And when you send stuff out to external effects, you actually can't use performance effects. So this is a way around that, and you can use up to 8 external outs and then second instances in order to copy the performance effects live. I actually record them into Drambo as I'm doing them, and then they control all the other instances, and I get 8 stems that include the performance effects but are still isolated from each other. So I've created this little track here which has got 6 pads. I think I'll start simple just by explaining the whole thing, which is I've got the drum break here going out of output 2, and then I've got output 2 going out to Koala out, which I've got going through a compressor, which is actually being ducked by my voice, just so you can hear what I'm talking about. So in order to be able to add bus effects and performance effects to this external out, you need to add another Koala instance, and obviously that silences it. Now, you might think to turn it on this way, which means you can hear it again. However, that doesn't actually go, it's not routed through the mixer and the performance effects, so you don't want to do it that way. Instead, what you want to do is, using the mixer on one of the channels, is put on the mic effect, which basically routes it through the mixer, and the mixer is routed through the performance effects before it comes out. I put a +6 on there just because all of my mixers are on -6. So if I didn't, every time I did this, the signal would get 6 dB quieter. So now it should be as loud as it was before. Okay. And obviously I can still use the mixer here. But what this allows me to do is now use performance effects, and that means that not only can I copy and use the same performance effects I use on the main instance and other instances, if I do want to separate them, I can control this specific instance for the drums using a separate MIDI channel. And for that reason, I no longer use the MIDI mapping inside Koala for the effects mapping. If you look here and you look at my MIDI mapping, you see all of these effects are not mapped. I do use it for sequence maps and obviously for pad maps, but you see that these mappings are fixed to a particular channel. So you can't easily separate instances of the effects channels using internal MIDI mapping. So instead what I do is I load up the MIDI map here, which I've saved, which is what I normally do. I've just chosen to make the bottom row of effects as 101 to 108, and then the top row 111 to 118, so that I can kind of remember which is what without having to think about it. So then I can just load the same mappings. So these two now would be controlled the same. If I was to send mapping to, I may as well actually show you. So I'm just going to load up Drambo, where I've got a template, and then this is my Koala template. If I go to mix, so no, sorry, FX. So these are the effects, and you see obviously they're not doing anything. Now in AUM there's 2 different ways to route MIDI. You either route it to the MIDI control, and the MIDI control controls anything that you find in up here. Basically inside these menus, but you'll see that Koala, for example, only gives you the performance effects for MIDI mapping here. So I can't actually MIDI map sequences or pads or anything. So if I want to also control sequences, then I need to also send this to the Koala sampler instance. In this case, I feel like I'm going off the reservation a little bit, but with that first instance, that's where the sequences actually are. The second instance doesn't have any sequences on it, so it doesn't actually need to be MIDI mapped. However, if you then go here, go to the three dots, and then set MIDI channel to 2, for example, it means that the first instance is on MIDI channel 1, which will get controlled here, even though there's no sound coming through it, but not the second one. And then you can automate them separately, but I'll set the MIDI channel back to 1 just so you can hear that. Okay, so right, so you see that's working. And the advantage to that is now if I duplicate this channel, now automatically it's creating outputs. This isn't the way I do it in my template, because if for any reason Koala uninstantiates and breaks, then it's a real pain in the butt to recover all of this stuff. You need to rebuild all of the external outs individually and stuff. So in a sec, I'll show you how I do it. But this is just explaining what's happening here. So I'll duplicate this a few more times. So this is okay, so I've got 6 tracks on this loop, and each one is just sending to a separate out. So if I can't really solo. If I was to just want a recording of that just the bass, I can do it. Each of these can be recorded individually, and there'll be clean stems, but also include all the effects, so they remain in sync with each other. Right, so I've got crush on. So that's the reason I do it, because every week I need to export 8 stems for the Funk Moon Camp project for Campy to then mix. Obviously, once you've done this, let me just close off everything else just to simplify matters a minute. Now, if you want to use bus effects, it's the same deal, really. Over here, you go to bus. As long as you put it under the mic, so let's put something here. Right. So the nice thing about this now is also that you can use 4 buses in parallel with Koala bus effects on a single output. So all I need to do is add another mic effect to another channel. Bring that up to 6 again, just because. Now, if I solo that on its own, it's the clean signal. And then now I can mix these. Let's add some other things. So instead of having, all the effects one after the other, let's put something weird on. I don't know what. Okay, so I'll put a... Right. So now you can mix all these effects together into different inputs and outputs. Get the sound however you want it. And obviously only the drums are being affected by that. So if I want to put an effect on here, I'll just put a delay on it. Whatever. So that's the way you do it, and you're not limited to 4. You can have 8, as well as obviously the main output that's included in the 8, but that's got its own bus effects here that shouldn't affect anything else. So, but there's no sound coming through this main output right now, so it makes no difference. But yeah, so that gives you 8 bus effects, and obviously then you can add other things to here. So if you want to just play individual instances, what would happen is see how other instruments aren't being affected. Which is a nice thing if you want to separate the effects or automate them with these things. Okay, so let's move on to how I actually do it. I'm just going to remove all of these for now and start from scratch. So what I like to do is have all of the MIDI channel, all the output channels on sends going to 8 external sends. So what I'm going to do is just put one here for A. So this will be output 1. I'm going to move this over here. And so now no sound would come out of here anyway. But what I'm going to do is have bus send A, and this is output 1. Now, if there was anything coming out of A, it would come to A now. And just so you know, this by default is set to 50. I set it to 100 just because it makes my life easier. Most of the time, a lot of the time, I want to send 100% of the signal to another bus. So by default, I have that on 100 here. And that will send 100% of the signal here. But so what's interesting here is that if I add a multi-bus to the same channel, it thinks there's a loop. That's what this dotted line around here means, but there actually isn't. And multi-instances in Koala, anyway, will block. You see that there's an input X. Input is none. So audio is actually blocked by these nodes. So what I need to do is send this one to B, and then you should hopefully start hearing it. Why are you not hearing it? Let's see. Oh, because this is A. All right, let's change this one to B. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to add another multi-instance. Send that one to C. Another multi-instance. Oops. So you get the idea. Basically, I send this one to D. Now, the reason I do this is, like, it does take longer to set up than the other way, but because I have it saved in a template, I just load this template every time. And I wasn't going to scare you at the beginning. I may show you quickly the state of my template at the very end of this video, and I may follow up with a more advanced video if you're interested. But I'm just going to add some buses here. In fact, let me just duplicate this a couple of times. So copy this here, duplicate. So we'll have D and E. Okay, so we're only going up to D here, but basically what that means is if for any reason this koala breaks, well, that doesn't really help that much, but if you duplicate this, it won't actually remap everything. All of these multi-instances break. I can probably show you that. Interesting. So it didn't break, but it actually created the 5, 6, and 7 for me. I didn't know that. And an unrelated instance of Koala. So this can actually be ditched. It's really interesting. I wasn't expecting it to do that. So what it's doing now is sending 5, 6, 7 to these A, B, like B, C, and D. This isn't what I do normally. I would have them on a single channel. Reason being is when I remove this channel is that I can then import a channel from my default setup. So what I'll do is it's just the Koala out one. What happened? Did it get added? No, let me try that again. So import default, and there you go. I have to go to the bottom and click import. So what that's done is it's imported a copy of this channel here, and that includes bus outs, multi outs, and for some reason this is sending to K because that's how I set it up originally. But basically this is a completely separate instance of Koala which I can add sounds to. Right, let's say this sound, and let me stretch it, and one shot, right. Going out to K, of course. So I'm just going to send that out to one of the ones that we've already set up. All right, so I can't solo. I keep forgetting that. So now you're hearing sound from both koalas, and they're already going to all the outputs. So I have other things set up on my buses, and so it's just really easy to add another instance of Koala, have all of these outputs ready to go, and all I need to do is then just send it to a different output, and it will mix multiple instances of Koala with multiple outs. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And I didn't actually even save this, and I quite like it. So I'll save that as drum and bass. And I'll quickly show you, if you're still here, why this makes my life a little... Actually, I probably shouldn't, because it'll break all of my voice stuff. Okay, I quickly re-imported the audio channels into this setup just so that I can show you it. This is my main template at the moment. I've got 3 sound effects, which are all off because there's nothing loaded in there. My voice sounds very weird and extremely compressed, so let me see if I can do something about that. Okay, so what you see here is all the buses I've got. Oops, I just swapped the position of these two. Each of these buses is already set up, already MIDI mapped. I've got the second instances of Koala ready to go, but by default disengaged in case I'm not using this for a Koala project. I've got a low pass filter, which basically is a proxy for this volume. The reason for that is that I'm using the low pass to mix audio in and out without affecting the mix itself. So I can use these mixers to mix the song, but then use these to actually automate gain up and down. Not gain up and down, obviously, is slightly different, but that's what it's for. So this is what I showed you before. I've got the top Koala instance. I can just load the song that we were just looking at. And already you'll see that it's already going to all the separate outs. So I didn't have to do anything other than load it. And now I can't solo because for the same problem. Now, it's coming out of 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And this I'm just using as a proxy for a hardware controller. So if basically what this is doing is, this is channel 2 here. Let me take out all the others. So if I can show you channel 2. Right, so this one knob is controlling the low pass and then sending to FX1 and 2, all on one knob. This is not set up in my rack. My rack is literally just giving me a touch strip, but what it means is that it's controlling one knob setups in Drambo, which are doing these 3 things. So if I go to channel 2, for example, and I want to change, this is the curve of the filter. So if I want more of a wider filter curve, now it's along the entire strip. So it's really easy for me to then go and tweak this on a per song basis, depending on what I want to send. And for example, if I put in, say, FX2, if I put in a delay in here, let's put please delay. So now, if I let's see, let's make this more obvious. So it's actually throwing the delay in. Let me do it on another channel. So you see, if I put this to 3/4, it's sending it to the delay. But if I don't, then it's not sending to the delay. And then I can mute it out. So then I can instantly just start performing. With effects. And it's easy for me to just do that and then export individual outputs. If you need to know more about this stuff, let me know. I don't want to go into it too deeply right now, but basically, this is just an interface for my one knob. If you want to know how to do one knob setups, then I've done an entire video called One Knob to Rule Them All. I'll link to it from this video, so you can watch that if you want to learn what that's all about. But it's a really powerful technique that lets you do a lot of cool stuff. So yeah, thanks for sticking around this long, and I'll see you around. Cheers.